Is the American dream still attainable for everyone in today's society? This is a question on the minds of many, especially those who identify themselves as middle class. Let's take a look at the current situation of the American middle class, which has long been regarded as the backbone of the country's economy, a diverse, dynamic group vital to the economic stability of the nation. However, today, the middle class faces some challenges. From housing to healthcare, the cost of living continues to rise. Even with full-time employment, middle-class families are finding it increasingly difficult to make ends meet. This predicament is exacerbated by the fact that while the prices of goods and services continue to increase, wages have remained stagnant for years. Paychecks have largely remained the same. This wage stagnation not only affects these families' ability to cover their bills, but also impacts their ability to save for the future. Then there's the issue of mounting debt. From student loans to credit card debts, middle-class families find themselves caught in an endless cycle of borrowing. This burden of debt is not just a financial issue, but also a mental and emotional one, causing stress and anxiety for many. Let's not forget the elephant in the room, the widening wealth gap. While the upper class continues to amass wealth at an alarming rate, the middle class struggles to stay afloat. This wealth inequality is not only concerning, but also unsustainable for a healthy economy. So what does all this mean? It means that the middle class, once the epitome of the American dream, is facing an uncertain future. It means that upward mobility and the promise of a better life are increasingly elusive for hardworking individuals. These issues raise an urgent question. Is the middle class shrinking in America? Consider the Johnson family from the Midwest, a typical middle-class American family. They lead lives familiar to many of us. Father John works a regular 9-to-5 job, while Mother Mary juggles part-time work and raising 2 children. They are hardworking, diligent, the epitome of the American dream. Yet despite all their efforts, they are financially stretched thin. Stagnant wages have been their reality for years. Despite John's steady employment in Mary's part-time job, their income fails to keep up with the rising cost of living. Each paycheck seems to be slightly less than the last. Healthcare, once a luxury, has become a necessity. Like many middle-class families, the Johnsons' health insurance premiums have skyrocketed. Every doctor's visit, every prescription filled, eats into their budget, leaving less for other basic needs. Education, once a pathway to upward mobility, now seems like a path to financial ruin. The Johnsons worry about how they'll afford their children's college expenses. The inflation of tuition fees has turned what should be a stepping stone into a daunting financial hurdle. Home ownership, a symbol of stability, is becoming increasingly out of reach. Despite their full-time jobs, the Johnsons struggle to make mortgage payments. The dream of home ownership, once a cornerstone of the American middle class, is now becoming increasingly elusive. Saving for the future, investing for a comfortable retirement. These concepts seem like distant dreams for the Johnsons. Every month is a balancing act, a struggle to keep their heads above water. The Johnson family represents millions of American families grappling with the same issues. They are not outliers. They are not alone. They are the faces of the decline of the middle class, the faces of a crisis reshaping America's economic landscape. They are the tangible manifestation of a system in dire need of change, a system that has long overlooked the backbone of the American economy, the middle class. Now meet the Martinez family from the West Coast, another face of the American middle class. The Martinez family is a snapshot of a growing reality for many middle-class households living in bustling cities. They are grappling with the pains of job insecurity and the increasingly prevalent gig economy. Once a full-time employee, Mr. Martinez now finds himself juggling multiple part-time jobs without any benefits or job security. Mrs. Martinez works as a freelance graphic designer. Her income fluctuates from month to month, making it difficult to plan for the future or save. Their struggles with job insecurity are a direct result of the transition from full-time employment to contract-based part-time and temporary work in the flexible economy. This new economic model, like many others, has pushed them into a realm of unstable income, devoid of the benefits once provided by full-time employment. However, their struggles don't end there. The Martinez family is also grappling with a mountain of debt, from student loans to credit card bills. The burden of debt weighs heavily on their shoulders. They're caught in a vicious cycle, borrowing to make ends meet, only to find themselves deeper in debt. Moreover, the once dream of homeownership, a hallmark of the middle class, is now a distant reality for the Martinez family. With real estate prices skyrocketing and unstable incomes, homeownership has become an elusive dream. They find themselves trapped in the rental market, spending a significant portion of their income on housing with no end in sight. The Martinez family's struggle is a stark reminder of the harsh realities facing the middle class today. It paints a picture of an America where job insecurity, debt, and the inability to afford a home have become the new norm for many. The Martinez family story is a prevalent narrative in today's economy. What are the economic factors contributing to these struggles? Let's delve into this urgent question a bit further. Firstly, we must acknowledge the relentless march of inflation. As the cost of living rises, the purchasing power of the middle class diminishes. Imagine a loaf of bread costing $1 last year and $1 this year. That's a 10% increase. Now, if your income hasn't increased by at least 10%, you'll feel the pinch. Now, let's talk about wage stagnation. When everything becomes more expensive but your wages don't increase, you're effectively earning less. This has become a reality for many middle-class families over the past few decades. Despite increased productivity, wages have remained relatively stagnant. In fact, people are working harder but not seeing a corresponding increase in their pay. Now let's turn our attention to the rise of the gig economy. This new working model offers flexibility, but often comes without the predictability and protections of traditional employment. It's not uncommon for individuals to juggle multiple jobs just to make ends meet. This can lead to financial instability and make it challenging for middle-class families to plan for the future or save for emergencies. Lastly, we must consider the impact of these factors on the middle class's ability to maintain their standard of living. Rising costs, stagnant wages, and uncertain work conditions are making it increasingly difficult to even meet basic needs, let alone luxuries. As a result, the middle class is struggling to keep up with the proverbial Joneses and is slipping into lower economic classes. The convergence of all these factors has created a perfect storm, reshaping the landscape of the American middle class. This isn't just about numbers or economic jargon. It's about real people, real families struggling to hold on to their share of the American dream. These economic factors are contributing to a significant shift in the American middle class. What are the political ramifications of this change in the middle class? The answer to this question lies at the heart of our society's future. The decline of the middle class has deep implications that require swift and substantial policy changes. First and foremost, we need to address wage stagnation. The middle class has long been trapped in a vice grip where the cost of living rises rapidly while wages remain stagnant. To remedy this, we need policies that ensure fair wages for all workers, policies tied to productivity and inflation that allow wages for hardworking middle-class individuals to grow as the economy expands. Secondly, we must tackle the rising cost of living. From housing to healthcare, education to energy, the cost of essential goods and services has plunged the middle class into a deepening financial crisis, outpacing wage increases. Policies must be implemented to rein in these costs and ensure that everyone, not just the wealthy, can access basic necessities. But the issue goes beyond just wages and costs. Job security is another critical piece of the puzzle. In an era of rapid technological change and globalization, the middle class is vulnerable to job loss and displacement. Policies that support job security, such as promoting lifelong learning and skill development, are crucial to protecting the middle class from further erosion. Lastly, we must prioritize policies that promote economic mobility and equality. The promise of the American dream, the idea that anyone, regardless of their background, can climb the economic ladder, is increasingly becoming a distant memory. It's time to reignite this dream with policies that level the playing field and give everyone an equal chance at success. Without significant policy changes, the struggles of the middle class may worsen. It's time to take action. Let's ensure that the backbone of our society, the middle class, remains strong and vibrant for generations to come. What does the future hold for the American middle class? If we look into the crystal ball, we might not see a very promising picture. Given current trends, the future of the middle class could be filled with increasing inequality and economic instability. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening, and the middle class is feeling squeezed like never before. In the coming years, the continued shrinkage of the middle class is conceivable. For instance, the rise of automation and artificial intelligence is expected to replace many middle-class jobs. Without significant policy changes, these technological advancements could lead to job losses and wage stagnation for many middle-class workers. Moreover, the cost of living, especially in urban areas, is increasing. Housing, healthcare, and education expenses for the middle class are all on the rise. These escalating costs could mean a future where the American dream of homeownership, access to quality healthcare, and college education for their children becomes increasingly out of reach. However, let's not paint an entirely bleak picture. There are potential solutions, and they lie in the hands of policymakers. We may envision a future where policies are implemented to protect middle-class jobs from automation, provide affordable healthcare and education, and ensure a more equitable distribution of the nation's wealth. This could mean a significant change in our approach to economic policy, but it holds the potential for a future that secures the survival of the middle class. It's also crucial to realize that the middle class is not just an economic group, it's a cultural and social phenomenon. It symbolizes stability and opportunity. The erosion of the middle class could create ripple effects throughout society and impact everything from political stability to public health. So what does the future hold for the American middle class? It's a difficult question to answer definitively, as it depends on numerous variables. But one thing is clear: the future of the American middle class is in jeopardy. We've explored the struggles of the American middle class, but what can be done about it? In the past quarter hour, we've examined the realities faced by the American middle class. We've walked in the shoes of both the Johnson and Martinez families, symbols of the struggles and aspirations of millions of households across the country. From stagnant wages to rising living costs, we've looked at the economic factors exacerbating this crisis and highlighted the policy implications these issues raise. We've seen that what was once the backbone of the American economy, the middle class, is now feeling pressure from all sides. Rising healthcare expenses, increasing student debts, and an increasingly unaffordable housing market are putting mounting pressure on them. Meanwhile, wage increases have slowed down and failed to keep up with inflation. But this is not just a story of struggle, it's also a story of resilience. It's a narrative that underscores the importance of the middle class in sustaining our American dream, driving economic growth, and strengthening social stability. We've seen how the middle class is more than just a demographic. It's an idea, a voice, a way of life, and it's worth fighting for. So what can be done? The answer lies in a combination of policy changes and economic reforms. We need to rethink our approach to issues like education, healthcare, and housing. We need to invest in our human capital to ensure that each generation has the chance to do better than the last. We need to create an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. Ultimately, the fate of the American middle class will shape the future of the entire country. It's a future that we can only shape if we have the courage to confront these issues head-on and the willingness to make the necessary changes. Because the middle class is more than just a demographic. It's an idea, a voice, a way of life, and it's worth fighting for. Thank you for watching Wealth Stream 101. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave us a like below this video.